Welcome back. We're going to do a video covering game week 24. This is going to be a breakdown in 5 parts. We're going to cover cap droppers. We're going to do some optimal lineups. We're going to run over some of the best MVP choices this week. I'll run through the game week values, and then we're going to go through some injuries, tell you who can be the beneficiary if those questionable or worse injury designation players sit out. So I'm going to chop this into 5 sections. I will put timers where the new section starts in the show notes below so you can click around. So I get up at 6 in the morning on these weekdays. I do an update, make sure the sheet's ready to go. A lot of times I feel like RotoWire isn't quite ready at 6 a.m. my time. So about 9 a.m. my time, which is right now, I'll do a second update. And then I think going forward here, seems like we're getting our first news updates around noon. So at 15 after each hour leading up to lock or until I have to leave for work, I will do updates for you going forward. But yeah, let's chop it up into sections. And again, if you want to skip around, I will put little timestamps down below that you can click on so you can find different parts of the video. All right, let's go. What I'm going to cover is the cap droppers. This is the tab on the very far left of the main NBA sheet. What we're looking at here is players who previously had a higher L10 that are looking at a lower L10 going forward. So this is going to be after lock today. So right now, Jalen Johnson's at 52. After lock tonight for game week 25, he'll be at 46. So a pretty good size drop there. This will tell you how many games they have coming up in each of the coming game weeks. So this is for this one. This is for next week. And I'll update that as we go. So the best cap droppers this week, Jalen Johnson, Keontae George, both dropping 6 points. Both good players. Johnson's been MVP level a lot of this season. Now with Trae Young gone, I think he assumes that big role again. Keontae George, better than advertised this year, dropping down to 43. I would say he's playable, but not a great play at 43. Paolo has been fluctuating quite a bit. He was down all the way to around 30, went up to 44, now back to 39. Jordan Walsh has lost a lot of playing time. I would skip him. Colin Sexton's interesting here. If LaMelo Ball would miss time, if Knippel would get hurt, I think it would take an injury for him to really be on the radar again. But we're going all the way down to 21. That's somebody to keep an eye on. Knippel I just mentioned. He is probably hitting his rookie wall here. Looked great all year, but not as much recently. Just a lull. I think he's a good player. 30, interesting for him. Collier also loses 5. Not sure about the playing time with him. Karl Anthony Towns. So this one's interesting. He had that real stinker of a game, and that dropped him quite a bit. 35 is a pretty low level for Karl Anthony Towns. I would certainly be interested here at 35. Same with OG. We're all the way down to 28 again, so anytime he drops under 30, I think he's kind of interesting. He can have big games. Jalen Wells, the playing time is there, but the offensive production just isn't most nights. So 20, I guess he's kind of interesting, but I think it would take some trades here, really get him on your radar. Jaren Jackson down to 37. I know a lot of you hate playing him. He's still a good player. He's been productive for the most part. He's had a lot of bad games, but he's had some good ones. 37's a level where I think you're definitely in the mix playing him. Oubre I'm going to skip for now. Philly just has too many wings. Everybody's fairly healthy right now for them. 27 seems high. Solomon's kind of interesting to me. I feel like he might be starting to figure it out. Still a really young player. 14 L10. Charlotte obviously needs all the size they can get right now. That's one I'm kind of curious about. We'll have to watch him over the next couple games, see how he does. But I think you could take a flyer on him at a 14. Brandon Miller getting down to 34. Really like Brandon Miller. Bad game last night on the second of a back-to-back. But overall, he's been very good. Better than I thought he was. 34 is definitely a playable level for him. Miles Bridges at 33. And I'll just go down through the end of the guys who are dropping 3 points. Devin Booker, 38. Not bad for him. He hasn't been as great this year as previous seasons. I think Phoenix is a little more balanced. He doesn't have to do quite as much all by himself. 38's a level you can certainly play Booker at. Maxime Renaud of Sacramento down to 26. He's going to continue to get time. He does have decent games every so often, but these second-round picks tend to think this probably won't last. Wendell Carter is kind of boring to me. 28, that's right about where he should be. Jalen Brunson drops a couple points to 44. I can play him in a pinch. But he's kind of one of those, not quite an MVP, but too good for a 44 seems a little high. Porzingis down to 31. He's minute restricted. He's hurt all the time. I'd probably avoid him. Baji gets minutes sometimes, but not consistently enough for me. 10 L10. He'd need quite a few minutes. He's pretty unproductive generally. Reed Shepard's on a lousy stretch right now. Certainly can pop. 27. We're getting into that range where he's usable again. Kind of depends on how long Şengün is out, but there'll be a game for Reed Shepard where he pops for 50 or 60 again when he gets hot. Will Richards played a little more, but the minutes are still inconsistent. Down to 14, monitoring for now. Scotty Barnes is questionable tonight. that L10 of Scotty Barnes gets under 40, that's when I start to notice. I think you can play him at 39, assuming he's good enough to go. Desmond Bain had a nice stretch, but he's kind of fallen back into a malaise where he's scoring in the 30s every night, but not doing a whole lot more than that. 33, playable, sure. Great play? No, I don't think so. Anthony Black, 37, just too high. He's too inconsistent. Cam Thomas down to 22. Interesting, but at the same time, he came back, had that one huge game, and then got right back to not doing much. Brooklyn's a weird team. You're not sure where exactly the production is going to come from on a night-to-night basis. 22 seems low for Thomas, but I think it would be a night where maybe Porter was out and he got a lot of usage. Watford's back, 19, don't care, just not consistent enough. Evan Mobley at 36 seems playable, but he's had a pretty bad year overall. The Cavs have something wrong with them. So play him at your own risk. Josh Green, no thanks, even at a 9. And Brandon Williams actually left. 21 seems pretty good. Is he healthy enough? He's surpassed Ryan Nembhard again as that starting point guard on this team. And with 3 games coming the week after next, he might be somebody to look at. All right, so those are your big cap droppers this week, players to consider. Let's run some optimals. All right, so I've set this sheet up to run optimals. Basically, I used my own common collection, which now has every card other than Jared McCain, who I can't seem to get, so I just added him manually. But anyway, it's got projections for everybody. I just put the bonus at 1. I just manually changed it, so it's not projecting some different XPs for different players. So first thing we're going to do is mark the injuries. I don't want anybody who's injured in an optimal, so anybody questionable or worse is going to be excluded. And we're going to run our filter for our top 80, and we can sort this just so you can see it a little bit better. We're really looking at value here more than anything else. All right, and so these are optimals as of 9 a.m. my time, so that's 10 a.m. Eastern. A lot can change, obviously, with injury news that'll break during the day. We are going to exclude anybody questionable or worse at this point. I've got them all ready to go, and I'm going to put this back to 60 so it runs a little faster, and let's give it a shot. All right, for champion, here's what we're getting. Luka in your MVP slot at 51. Giannis all the way at 38. LaMelo Ball, 37. We saw his ceiling last night coming off the bench. Derek Queen at 32. Now, Derek Queen's had a bunch of down games, but obviously a talented guy, still capable of big numbers. And then you got Paul Reed, and Paul Reed is at an 11. And Paul Reed hasn't had a good game this stretch of Jalen Duren being out, but Jalen Duren's going to be out again. At least a game, maybe 2 more. So we could see that big Paul Reed game at some point. Isaiah Stewart actually had the big game last time. I'm still in on Paul Reed. I think he can give you at least a double with a couple blocks. He's an energy guy. So we're looking at a 118 cap here for our champion after Luka as the MVP, 309.55. And as I do these, I'm just going to plop them in the Discord so you can see them here. And yes, I'm aware that it says LaMelo Ball plays for Chicago. So Rare's API has that incorrect. The team codes for Chicago and Charlotte are reversed. Let's go over to the optimal lineups. This is game week, what is it, 24? Yeah. So here's champ. All right, we don't have to mark anybody here because these are just optimals. So let's try a contender. All right, our contender is Giannis. Again, at that 38, just too low for him. LaMelo again, Paul Reed. This one you get Stewart in, and then they put Noah Penda in. Now, Noah Penda, this is a risk, obviously. His minutes fluctuate. Let's take a look. It's a guy I've tried before, and I've been burned by. Last 2 games are a 30 and a 40. In Sorare standards, he's getting bigger minutes, 27 and 31. Good three-point shooter, 46%. 45 from the field. Just doesn't take a lot of shots if we break this down by 36. So let's say we make him a starter. We're a double guy, 13 and 11, 13 and a half, 11 and a half. Over a steal and a block per 36. So if he's going to get regular minutes, I don't know. It's probably worth a shot. Now, what's going on with Orlando? Like, why is he playing so much? Same guys are out that have been out. So, Slang, Franz, and Mo Wagner both out. But you've got everybody else available. So this could be legitimate time for him. I'd like to look at these team trend charts. He's kind of give an idea where the playing time's been divvied up recently. So it looks like he's taking some minutes away from Tristan da Silva. I'm seeing less Tyus Jones, which is probably good. Jace Richardson was out last game, but before that, just isn't the answer. So I think this might stick. He's played pretty well the last 2 nights. I want to see what he's got for him, so I'll roll with it. All right. Got interrupted there for a second. Let's get back to it. Challenger. And so Challenger, of course, is a 140 cap plus MVP. So for this one, they have your MVP as, well, it's really Luka, but they have Jalen Johnson with Giannis, LaMelo, and Paul Reed, giving you 322. All right. Let's try Arena 140. And this one's going to be the 140 cap, but without that MVP. There we go. Luka and Giannis again, Paul Reed again. AJ Mitchell, so he's interesting. So SGA was questionable. We thought Mitchell might be in play last game. Then SGA played and played really well. Now SGA is definitely out. So we got those early news for the OKC guys. So he's in play today. And then Penda, who we already talked about. All right, we're going to try the Arena 75. Sometimes this works, sometimes it doesn't with 60. I'm going to check it out here. Depends on whether there are enough low cap, high value guys available. And if you get this error that says try lowering your filters or increasing your pool size, you can go into settings and up this. I'll try 70. And this just expands the pool. There we go. That one worked. So now we can fit within 75. Paul Reed and Stewart are playing the two Pistons, backup bigs together. Penda, Fears, and Aaron Wiggins, who's also very much in play with SGA and other OKC Thunder members out. 206. All right. So there are your optimals as far as, well, now it's 10 o'clock, but this is with my 9 o'clock information. All right, we're going to move on to some MVPs. All right, so for the MVPs, we're going to go back to our main NBA sheet here. And this time I'm going to look at this value by L10 tab. And what this does is it organizes my projections. It just sorts them by L10, highest to lowest. So obviously Jokic out, Tatum out. They don't have projections. Kawhi is your highest L10 on the board right now at 57, but the value isn't quite there. Luka is a higher projection and a lower L10. So top MVP looks like Luka. That's why he came up in all those optimals and everything. 25, 8.5 value metric is very good. He'd be at the top of the heap anyway. If we go a little further down, you can see this one sticks out. It's Anthony Davis. He's questionable. He got hurt again last night, so be careful with him. At a 42 L10, he's not really an MVP. I think you could find guys in those 65 range to play at the MVP. Even Kawhi would be better than that. But so this will be a pretty short section of this video. Not a lot of huge value here. This one's pretty good. Steph Curry, 64. Just got a good matchup with Sacramento. And even Jalen Johnson in the 15 mark here. He's at Denver, at Golden State. So the Denver matchup's actually decent. Although I don't know. They may be better defensively without Jokic. So hard to say. But those are your MVP guys this week. All right, well, let's run through some value here. So the best value on the board, according to my projections, is Paul Reed. It's just because his L10 is still so low at 11. He's going to get 26 minutes. He's been starting 1.29 points per minute. Now, normally this is coming off the bench in short spurts. He's getting more time, so that number probably a little high, but he is productive. He's an active player, gets a lot of blocks and steals generally, although he hasn't the last couple games. He's just too good at 11 to ignore. If you got a floor close to 20 and your L10 is 11, you need to play that guy if you have him. So he's your top play this week. 36.03 ceiling minus L10. That's really good. Giannis. You definitely need to have Giannis in those lineups if you can. 2 games at LA, at Denver. So we're looking at a couple of pretty decent matchups for Giannis. Hopefully the minutes go up a little bit. They've got him at 32. This guy's just one of the top performers in the league. 1.69 points per minute. Guys just aren't in this range. This is like Jokic, Wemby, Luka, and even Luka's not this high. Giannis has been your second most productive player when he's on the floor here this year. Big standard deviation for him, so he can definitely go high and low. The high end is obviously what we're looking for here, though, and at a 38 L10, if you can get in the 70s, yes, give me all of that. Penda coming up third on this list. So we already talked a little bit about Penda, 11 L10. He's had 27 and 31 minutes the last 2 games, 1.06, better than you'd think for this guy. He can shoot it a little bit. I think they're giving him a little leash. I hope I'm not giving you bad information. He goes back to playing 10 minutes and does nothing. But floor of 14, if you can get those 24 minutes, ceiling of 40, and again, 11 L10, just like Paul Reed. Hard to ignore that. That's such a low number. Dennis Jenkins makes the list but doesn't have any cards, so we can skip through him. We got Luka at 51, so a pretty decent value on Luka. You can actually put him in with another MVP in some of these lineups. 1.58 points per minute, so you see Giannis actually significantly higher than Luka, which seems crazy. Standard deviation real high for Luka, 17. But floor of 42 with an L10 of 51, I think you want to play him here. And that ceiling, obviously, with Luka can get really high. He's had 5 games over 70 already this year. A couple of those were over 80, and then one was a 98. So you got to have him in your lineup if you have one. Aaron Wiggins is interesting. With all the OKC Thunder guys out, L10 all the way down to 12. Now, he hasn't been great this year, 0.87 points per minute. But this is a guy that can still play. I like him. He's going to get an opportunity to shine here. And at a 12 L10 and a 12.78 floor, I think you can definitely play him. High end for Wiggins, 36.85. I think that's even a little low maybe. We'll see what he can do with Memphis and Miami. But a couple of high-paced teams. We talked a lot about LaMelo. I think you can definitely play him. Davis, we got to be careful with. One game, and he could be injured. I would probably save him for dailies. Derek Queen hasn't been producing the way he was earlier in the season, but while Zion was out, Zion's been back and playing well, and Queen's kind of taking a back seat again. I wish he was more aggressive offensively. I think he'll get there. He's a young player. Do get the Washington matchup. That's what we're looking for. If anybody's out, like if Trey Murphy's out, maybe he has more offensive responsibility against Washington. 32L10 is low enough to play Queen. I think you could see a game in the 50s if he's aggressive. That can certainly happen. Good floor for him, though. He's going to play minutes. 28 for a floor. So he's a safe play, I think, this week with the two matchups. Steven Adams hits the list. 16L10 is pretty low. He's getting a lot of minutes with Şengün out. 30 is a lot for Steven Adams. 0.92, still pretty productive with the blocks and steals despite not doing much offensively. Most of his points come on putbacks and rebounds. 20 for a floor, though, above that 16L10. Yes, you want to play him if you can. Brings us to Zeke Naji. He's earning minutes. Played really well in Boston the other night. The game before that was probably the best game of his career. This is a guy in his 6th season. They've been waiting for his breakout forever. 0.8 per minute tells you he's not super productive, but if he's going to get some minutes, and I think he is, 21 minutes, that might even be a low-end estimate. 7L10, gotta play him right now, I think. Jeremiah Fears in New Orleans gets the Washington matchup like we like. 19L10, getting a lot of minutes right now. Think you can play him. I don't know if I'd have huge expectations for Fears offensively right now, but definitely in play. Isaiah Stewart, coming off a big game, showed what he can do. 22L10, Duran's still out. 21 for a floor. He can definitely get you in the 40s. I think he hit 50 maybe last game. But a lot of minutes, 33 minutes, 1.03, pretty productive. Definitely play him. Karl Anthony Towns, under 40. 33 minutes. They get at Phoenix. That's a little tougher matchup, but then Portland doesn't play a whole lot of defense. So I'm thinking, one of these games, Towns could be pretty good. 59.41 for a ceiling for him. I think that's definitely in play. You can play your Towns if you've got one. Wemby still on a minutes restriction. He doesn't care. Still putting up big numbers. Now, he's not putting up the numbers he would if he was getting full minutes, obviously, but 41L10 is still low enough where you can play a guy who is a 1.7 point per minute player. 60.91. I think you can reach that even in short minutes. 2 shots at it, although it is a back-to-back, so we need to be a little careful here. He may sit one or the other of those at Boston, at Minnesota, both fairly decent defensive teams. So Wemby you can play, but may want to temper expectations a little bit. And you're going to get big minutes from A.J. Mitchell tonight, 35 expected. 27L10, so 28, so safe floor on A.J. Mitchell. His standard deviation's pretty low, so he's pretty consistent. 1.05, not spectacular, not terrible, but above average. And a 46.9 for a ceiling. I like it here. I would play him. We got 2 more. Stephen Curry gets Sacramento and Atlanta, so pretty good matchups for him. 34 estimated minutes. 45L10, right about a normal range for Curry. But I think he can go anywhere from the 30s to the 60s. So if you're looking for that high-end upside and you need a 45, he's your guy. And last but not least, we got Kevin Porter. And Kevin Porter is playing a ton of minutes for the Bucks. The average points per minute have gone down considerably from earlier in the season, but he's still effective. 39L10, and like Curry, anywhere from 30 to 58. I would say Curry's probably a better play here, but if you need to drop those 6 points to fit him in, you can certainly play Porter. Let's go 2 more. Peyton Watson, 2 of the best games of his career, filling in for a lot of injuries a couple nights ago. And then with everybody back, he still played a lot, played really well. Just don't know if the consistency's there for Peyton Watson. We've wanted to get excited about him for a while. 0.87 points per minute tells me not always aggressive offensively, but he certainly has been the last 2 games. When the 3-point shot's falling, he can score. 24L10, definitely in play. High end in the 40s. And then Colin Murray-Boyles for Toronto. So he's been getting more time, and he's been playing really well. So for a while, it was Sandro getting all those center minutes with Jakob Putt. And Murray-Boyles has kind of taken a starter role. He's getting more minutes than Mamu is right now. We're at Boston, and then we have Philly. So a little tougher matchups. The 0.88 a minute tells you he hasn't been great all year production-wise. But getting 30 at a 19, I think you can certainly stick him back in the lineup. He probably won some people some weeks last week. So get him out there if you got one, before his L10 goes all the way up to 25. All right, so those are your top 20 values this week. Of course, you can find all this information in the main sheet. Let's move on, cover the injuries and the usage, see what we have going on that front. All right, ready to run through these? Let's check it out. We've got Jakob Poeltl out as of now. I heard Ingram was at shoot-around. Scotty Barnes I haven't heard anything about. If Ingram plays and Scotty Barnes play, that's 34 minutes each. We're going to treat these guys like they're gone. Let's see what it looks like. So Pirtle's definitely off the floor. If Barnes would miss, but Ingram plays, you're looking at big usage for Ingram. Looking at quite a bit for Barrett, quite a bit for Quickly. If Ingram also misses, it's mostly the Quicklet. The Barrett and Quickly show, both over 30 without those three players on the floor. Quickly at 33, Barrett at 30 for L10, so I think both in play if we hear that Barnes and Ingram would both miss tonight. Boston going to be without Minot and Tatum. Minutes look like this. Nobody questionable, so I think this is a pretty safe assumption here. White, Brown, and Pritchard get most of the minutes here. Cade has been very good. Hauser starting, but Simon's coming off the bench playing about the same. Let's look at their on-off. I expect Jaylen Brown to continue to lead the way. 37.6% usage. I mean, that is enormous. Derek White, Simons, both in that 23-24 range. That's about it. Pritchard, pretty average, honestly. 19-6. Sure, he takes the big shots, but it's Jaylen Brown and everybody else on this team. Sixers, Embiid is questionable. All right, so Embiid's been playing most of the time here recently. Doing all right. 33 minutes looking at if he would sit. Let's take a look at the on-off without Embiid. And it's Maxey up at 31.4. That's a huge usage number. Paul George, 25.5. VJ Edgecombe, 22.5. So not a huge usage number for Edgecombe. If we look at who increases a lot, it's Oubre and Drummond. But Drummond, not an offensive player, 14.7. Gets most of his points on rebounds and putbacks. Oubre is back. But again, pretty average usage number for him, even without Embiid. Orlando, going to be without Suggs. And both Wagners again. Richardson, questionable. So we've got Penda at 15 minutes now. Looks like they've adjusted. So he's going to go down in your rankings. So everything I said earlier about him getting 27 to 30 minutes, I mean, that little blue line high, but I guess we'll see. This is definitely a risk, but probably one worth trying here, unless you have some better option. Looks like he may be usurping De Silva a little bit for minutes. Those could switch. Like if Penda gets 25 and it's the 15, I think you could have a nice night from Penda. Let's see what it looks like without those four players on the floor, assuming Jace Richardson is out for this exercise. That is. So Mo hasn't played all year, so we don't need to include him in this. Without these three guys on the floor, we've got Banchero at close to 30, Black and Bane both in the mid-20s. That's a little higher usage for Black than I was anticipating. That means he's starting to be more aggressive. That's nice, but that L10's too high. Bane, I believe, was 33. Banchero is in the 40s for now, so nothing great here for Orlando. Other than Penda, of course, but you're relying on him to get minutes that may or may not be there, so definitely a risk involved with him. All right, so for New Orleans, we've got Trey Murphy questionable, Jones doubtful, Alvarado already ruled out, Bay ruled out, Dejounte Murray hasn't played all year, so let's see what they look like. Minutes, Murphy obviously normally a big minutes guy, 36, so there will be some to go around if he doesn't play. Let's see who's good without these four on the floor. All right, and Zion's usage is up near 33, which is excellent. Jordan Poole definitely increases. Up to 26.5. Jeremiah Fears, 27.5. He's interesting. We talked about him a little earlier. That's about it for New Orleans. Bryce McGowan's gets a bump, but I think his L10's still too high, and he's just an average usage guy anyway. Checking Washington, looks like Trae Young. I'm hearing rumors that he may not even play for Washington this year. He's banged up enough, or they may keep him out for a while. He's doubtful tonight. We'll see if he goes at all. Whitmore's still out with his deep vein thrombosis. Minutes look like this, and I don't think this will change much. Carrington, Sarr, Coulibaly all around 30. George is back, but maybe on minutes restriction, 26. Middleton, 23. And then you're going to see some Trey Johnson and some Justin Champagnie. Justin Champagnie's been playing well. Both Champagnie's been playing well, to be honest. We had a Malachi Branham sighting the other day. We'll see what happens. A.J. Johnson might even get minutes. Probably not. All right, let's take a look at the Wizards. So Trae Young hasn't played for them, so he's not even on this list. We're getting rid of... So just getting rid of Whitmore. That doesn't make much of a difference. Going to look the same. McCollum's obviously not there. Alex Sarr. Probably get rid of McCollum. That might be a good way to do this. And remove Kispert too. He's gone. All right. So Trey Johnson becomes kind of interesting here. So Trey Johnson at the 26 usage, getting in the mid-20s minutes. And this is a talented rookie. He's getting more time. We'll see what he can do. Vukovic, I don't think is going to play. At least not much if he plays at all. He may even be with the G League team. Alex Sarr in the mid-20s. He's obviously going to get more usage. Coulibaly should get more usage. He just needs to be more aggressive. But 23-6 is at least encouraging in this situation. Everybody else kind of average. Most important jump I would think would be Trey Johnson here. He's at 24 L10. Say normally the Wizards are a good team to just avoid. All right, let's look at the Clippers. So Kawhi is questionable. That's big. Bogey's out. Jones out. Chris Paul is out the league. Let's say we're missing Kawhi tonight. So Harden kind of takes over when Kawhi's out. If you hear that Kawhi is out, Harden 38.5 usage, up almost 10. Ooh, yeah. Yeah, I probably want to play him. Not a lot of aggressive players offensively other than Harden. He just kind of takes over. 22. Brook Lopez almost 25. Cam Christie 22. But minutes for those two. Yeah, I think it's Harden and everybody else. Yeah, if Kawhi's out, play your Harden. MPJ is, I expect him to go. Highsmith, Liddell, Saraf, all out. I don't think they make any difference at all in the usage meter. Those guys, Highsmith hasn't played all year. Liddell, maybe has played like 3 minutes all year, and Saraf doesn't really affect anything. Here's how the minutes shake out. You've got a lot of guys playing between 18 and 28, and then Porter over 30, and that's about it. Probably avoid all the nets right now. Let's take a quick peek, see if there's anybody of value here. Jaeger did have a nice game here. Their 19-year-old rookie. He's a 24. Hit a bunch of threes last game. Maybe he's getting more confident. Everybody else, the L10s are just a little too high to even be interesting at this point. Like I was saying earlier, though, if Porter would sit, I would think Cam Thomas at that 25 L10, going down to 22, would be in play again. OKC is going to be interesting here, so we're going to go through this. Alex also questionable in addition to SGA, Hartenstein, Holmgren, all being out. Let's take a quick peek here at OKC. I did post this on the Discord last night, but we're going to include Caruso in this. All right, so without Caruso, SGA, Hartenstein, Williams, or Chet, Jalen Williams' usage is just nuts, 43.9. Nobody else really hits. AJ Mitchell, 22.3, so above average. But even then, that's only a 0.1% change from his normal usage. I still think he's capable of a big game. Isaiah Joe still pretty well below average. Aaron Wiggins right around 20, right around average. But either of those guys I think could pop. Depends. We'll see what happens here. But low L10 for Wiggins. He's probably my main target on OKC tonight, other than Jalen Williams, of course. Look at those Thunder L10s. Yeah, Jalen Williams definitely in play with all these guys out. AJ Mitchell, 27, a little high, but he can certainly pop. And then we go all the way down to 12 with Aaron Wiggins, and I think he's definitely a play. Memphis, let's take a look here. So Coward is questionable. He's missed the last, I think, 2 games now. Williams questionable. A lot of guys still out. So if Coward would miss, that's starter minutes. Vince Williams, you're looking at about 20. So let's do a little study here with no Edey, no Morant, no Coward, no Vince Williams. And so what we find is Jaren Jackson, 26.6. Jock Landale is in play, 23.9. Aldama, 23. So all those guys at least above average usage. Nobody like crazy high here. Biggest increase actually goes to Landale. PJ Hall's on the Hornets. I don't have to worry about him. Anybody on this team that's worth taking a look at? Let's check some L10s here. Yeah, Jackson 41, Aldama 33, both a little high, higher than I'd like. Landale 27, even that's a little higher than I would like. Yeah, and this is kind of what happens when they play everybody decent minutes. Atlanta, looks like the new guys are both doubtful. Kispert and McCollum. So we're going to take Trae Young, McCollum, and Kispert off for the Hawks. Looks like everyone else going to go here. Hawks play their starters, pretty big minutes. They have to take McCollum or Kispert off the floor because they haven't played for the Hawks yet this year. Let's take a look. Kristaps has a pretty nice usage number, but is he going to get enough minutes to make it worthwhile? NAW and Jalen Johnson, both in the upper 20s. I'd say either of them are at least playable, although the L10s are pretty high. And then a Okongwu, 21.8, slightly above average. Everybody else below average usage. Biggest jump here is NAW. But if we look at those L10s, 33, pretty high L10 for him. Jalen Johnson up at 52. Okongwu as high as 37. Yeah, so just not a lot of value here with the Hawks. All right, we get to Denver. So Jokic and JV still out. Cam Johnson still out. Looks like the majority of the guys are going to go. Spencer Jones, questionable. That's kind of interesting. Not for so rare so much because he doesn't have any cards, but his minutes have to go somewhere. He's playing quite a bit. Looks like 19, and he's been in the 30s a lot, though, so we'll see here. Let's take a look at Denver. We're going to remove Jokic, remove Spencer Jones for this exercise, and Cam Johnson and JV. All right, so Aaron Gordon actually has a really high usage number with those players off the floor. It's only 6 games, but we're looking at a 32.2 usage number for Gordon. He looked aggressive against Boston, but then didn't play the fourth quarter or most of it. I think he may still be working back on a little bit of a minute restriction. Murray and Watson, both good in the mid-20s, although Murray's is a little lower, I think. So it's mostly, it's been Watson, Gordon, and Najee who have moved up in the absence. And Najee was a guy we talked about, 7 L10. That's going to be going up. 18-9 usage is a little below average, but he's looked really good the last 2 games. Definitely be in my lineups if I had a Najee right now. All right. Moving on to New York. Hart and Shamet still out. Minutes look like this. Big minutes for the starters. Looks like everybody's going to go. Let's see what they look like without Hart and Shamet. All right, Brunson in the 30s, Towns in the high 20s, and then everybody else a little bit lower. So they would have to be spectacular L10s to be useful. Let's see if we got any. Brunson 47. I think Towns is in play, certainly at 39. But everybody else pretty high for where you're going to have to play them. Yep, don't see much here. Phoenix still without Jalen Green and Jamari Bouya. Otherwise pretty healthy. Let's check out Phoenix. And it's Booker with a little over 31 for usage number. Ignore Kobe Bray, only played 1 game. Dylan Brooks in the high 20s right now in this situation. I think he might be in play. Let's see what those L10s are for the Suns. Booker at 41. Sure, I think you can play that. Dylan Brooks down at 28. Yeah. I think that's a decent play. Other than that, not seeing a whole lot. Might give Brooks a shot here. Sacramento going to be without Keegan Murray and Sabonis again. Estimate breakdown here. So we've got Levine at 36. Maybe. DeRozan 35. Hard to tell with the Kings who they're going to play and when. So let's take a look at Keegan Murray and Sabonis being off the floor. I feel like Sabonis hasn't played in forever. So nobody really sticking out. You got 4 guys right in the mid-20s for usage. So in order for those to be viable, they would need to have pretty low L10s. And DeRozan at 36, probably a little high. Westbrook 34, probably a little high. Roder at 26 and Levine at 26, maybe. Levine can certainly pop, but he's so inconsistent right now. And of course, the minutes are inconsistent with Doug Christie as well. I would say those are the 2 you'd be looking at with the Kings, but again, not my favorite plays. Golden State, going to be without Seth Curry. Don't think that moves the needle at all. So here's what it looks like. Curry and Butler, both in the mid-30s. Draymond around, he doesn't get ejected in the first quarter. Murray and Post, your other starters. And then Melton, been playing well. Pajemski, both in the mid-20s. And we go down from there. Not real interesting. Is there anybody worth looking at here on the Warriors? We talked about Curry as a value. You can certainly play him. Butler at 33, sure. I think you could do that. Where's Melton? 18? Okay. Maybe. A little high for Richard. Yeah, not much else going on here. All right, we got Portland. Pretty good matchup. Be without Şengün again. Van Fleet, Crawford don't matter. They haven't played all year. So we'll see what the Rockets look like without Şengün. It's been a couple games now. Have a pretty good idea. And a lot of Kevin Durant, 32-6. Amen Thompson's aggressive, but not always effective, 23.5. And then it's definitely down from there. So Reed Shepherd's usage hasn't been as big as I thought it would be without Şengün. Tari Eason's been playing well, 22-3, but it would have to be a low L10, and I think Eason may still be pretty low. Yeah, Durant up to 45. That's pretty high. Amen Thompson, 39, seems pretty high. Shepherd at 30 even seems a little high. I know he's coming down. Eason, 27. There just isn't a lot of value here. It looks like Steven Adams might be your best value on this team at 16. I know he was projected for 30 minutes earlier today. Let's see if they still have him up that high. Yep, they still got him at 30. I think at a 16 L10, you definitely play Adams. But other than that, not sure you want to really go deep into that Houston rotation. Minutes for the Blazers. Avdija's been great. Kamara playing big minutes as he always does. Sharp and Klingon both over 30. And then you get into the bench players. Let's see what they look like without Holiday, Murray, Grant. I think Tybalt's played all year. So Holiday, Murray, and Grant are the main 3 we're going to go without here. All right, and without those guys on the floor, Shaedon Sharpe actually higher usage than Avdija, just less effective. But depending on what the L10 is, he may be in play. Caleb Love doesn't have any cards. They're both below 20. So let's check out the Blazers, see where we're at with Avdija and with Shaedon Sharpe. Shaedon Sharpe at 29. Yeah, I think you can try that. He can get hot. He can certainly put you up a high into the 50s, I would assume, once in a while. Avdija at 47, pretty high. He'd probably be your MVP, unfortunately, and that's not always a great option, although he's been good. Yeah, Sharpe's popped a couple times. 54, 2 games back against Utah. 55, 49, 51 here. So he's usually in the 30s, but he will pop for a 50 here and there. Something to consider when he's under 30. All right, 2 more. Let's get this done. Taurean Prince, he's been out forever. I think we're looking at more normal minutes for Giannis. He's ramping back up. Seems fine. Porter obviously playing huge minutes. Rollins still playing huge minutes. Bucks are pretty healthy right now. So Prince, I don't believe, has played all year, so I don't really have to look at anything here. Huge usage for Giannis with this lineup, like he always has. And everybody else kind of takes a back seat when Giannis is playing. Even Kevin Porter, although he's close to average. And with Prince Court, yeah, 38 for Giannis, 24 for Rollins, 26 for Cole Anthony. How come Kevin Porter's not on this list? Well, anyway. Yeah, so let's look at the Bucks. 10s. Porter pretty high at 39. If Giannis is out, sure, you play him at that, but with Giannis back, I wouldn't. Giannis at 38, obviously a great play. Rollins pretty high at 36. Porter's pretty high at 32. Turner pretty high at 27. Yeah, not a lot with the Bucks other than the main guys. I don't see anything here to get about. And then the Lakers, LeBron is questionable. I think he's probably going to play. I think he's just sitting back-to-backs. Upgraded to questionable. Yeah, I think he's ready to go. Rui up to questionable. So this one more in doubt, I would say. Participant. So we're gonna take a look at what it looks like with these guys. So with Rui, 25 minutes. With LeBron, let's say we're expecting LeBron to go, but Rui's in question. So let's take him off the floor. And with Rui off the floor, Luka's usage is close to 40. That's definitely playable. We don't have Reeves either. Let's take him off the floor. Yeah, so Luka over 40. LeBron right around 30, so you could definitely play either of them. They're going to get a lot of usage. Nobody else on this team really all that aggressive offensively. Biggest jump, Gabe Vincent, but still probably not playable. And looking at the Lakers, yes, Luka is in play at 51. LeBron 42, probably a little high. Reeves obviously out. I know LaRavia's been good, but 28, too high probably for me. Ayton at 26 seems like maybe you could play him there. Yeah, just don't see a lot here. Not too much to get excited about with the Lakers, except Luka. That's every night. All right, well, that breaks down today's slate. I hope you like this format. We'll try to do this some more. I know this is going to be a long video. I'm going to try to cut it and speed it up and get it down into that range that's a little more digestible. And of course, like I said earlier, I will break it down into segments. So if you look below in the show description, you should have little hyperlinks you can click on at certain times in the video that tell you where you're going, and you can to different sections. There's 5 different things we covered. All right, have a great weekend, and we will talk again soon. Thanks for watching.